Good day to everyone tuning in to listen to this short press info on Joint Expeditionary Force, also known as JEF. The two-day ministerial meeting of the defense ministers of the JEF countries in Helsinki has just ended, and now the Minister for the Armed Forces in UK, Mr. James Heappey, and Minister of Defense of Finland, Antti Kaikkonen, are ready to tell you about the meeting and the recent activities of JEF. We start with short opening speeches from the ministers, and after that the floor is open for questions and discussion. Also note that beside the ministers answering the questions we have from the UK side, British Ambassador to Finland, Mr. Tom Dodd, who will answer to wider questions not related to defense cooperation, if you have those. Now we'll move on to the opening speeches, and Mr. Kaikkonen will start. Minister, if you would be so kind.
Thank you. Mr. Minister for the Armed Forces, dear listeners, this ministerial JEF meeting took place just after we hosted the Nordic Defence Cooperation Forum, Nordefco Defence Minister meeting, also here in Finland. Last year's JEF meeting was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so it was really important to have the possibility to meet now, as the last time we met was in Lithuania 2019, a long time ago, I can say. To align these two meetings, Nordefco and JEF, was due to practical reasons, but actually it also underlines a few things. Firstly, all Nordic countries are also members of JEF. That is half of the 10 JEF nations. That is expected since JEF focuses in the Baltic Sea region and Northern Europe, which are also very important in Nordefco also. That is why JEF is meaningful to all Nordic countries. Secondly, different defense cooperation fora can complement and add value to each other. In the Nordefco meeting, we discussed about the issues that are vital for especially to the Nordic countries, and here in the JEF meeting, we touched some of the same topics in a wider context. Finland is participating in JEF in order to develop its own defense capabilities in a grouping of some of our closest partners. For Finland, JEF's active role in the Northern Europe has been very good. This is one tool to make the region more secure and more stable. We can rely on JEF nations to be willing and capable of effective cooperation. Due to changes in our security environment, JEF has concentrated in replying to sub-threshold activities. Finland has developed a comprehensive security model for its national purposes. These kind of cross-governmental arrangements are sensitive to societal models in respective nations and two cannot be copied. However, we hope that we can share our thoughts and experiences and make JEF stronger also in countering sub-threshold threats. To conclude, I want to thank all the partner nations for the very interesting discussions. These annual meetings are beneficial to all member nations and essential to the success of JEF. Thank you. Please.
Well, Antti, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to everybody in the Finnish Ministry of Defence for the fantastic reception we've all received here in Helsinki over the last 2 days. It's always a pleasure to discuss defence matters with our Finnish friends and other JEF nations with whom we share not just history, but a profound commitment to common values, including our belief in democracy, human rights, and the rules-based international order. At a time when international norms are being challenged across the domains and throughout the globe, we are ever more conscious of our vulnerabilities and the need for resilience. So today we discuss the threats we face. As the UK's recent integrated review underlined, we are facing rising dangers. We're facing aggressor nations not just operating in conventional ways, but below the threshold as well. Their challenge is persistent and repeated, from the Baltic Sea to the High North, and their use of new technologies and proxies should concern us all. At such times, like-minded partners must show solidarity. Our adversaries envy our ability to work together. And the JEF exemplifies our partnership potential, a unique coalition of sophisticated countries able to respond rapidly to a crisis anywhere, anytime, and in any environment. Able to operate persistently in every domain, able to draw on individual strengths to magnify overall impact, and able to collaborate with multilateral organisations to prevent and mitigate crises of varying scale. That's why today we reinforced our JEF commitment. In recent times, we've made progress. 2 years ago, we reached full operating capability. In March, we held the first maritime exercise of exclusively JEF nations. And in April, we welcomed Iceland as our 10th member nation. And now, here in this great city of Helsinki, ministers from all 10 countries have gathered to mark another milestone. Not only have we practiced how to come together in a crisis, but we have signed a new policy direction, showing our determination to turn good intentions into firm action against hybrid dangers. And we also discussed plans for Exercise Joint Protector in September, where hundreds of military and civilian personnel will rehearse responding in crisis in the sub-threshold. In a more uncertain, more competitive age, the UK will continue to make a decisive contribution to global security. Our defence budget has been boosted by £24 billion. Our command paper has described our vision for transforming our armed forces. And by standing shoulder to shoulder with our friends and JEF partners, we're reaffirming our ongoing readiness to keep defending the precious values that define us all. Thank you.
Thank you, ministers. And now the floor is open for questions and discussion. And I remind the journalists that if you'd like to speak, use the raise hand function and I'll give you a possibility to speak. And here we go. So who is the first one? There's questions. Right. Yes, sorry. It's my first time here, so there was a question. Very good. And the first one to ask is Eino Rissanen from Ruotuväki, the Journal of Finnish Defence Forces. Please, Eino, you can talk.
Thank you. I would like to ask what right now in its operating area is most interesting to JEF?
Well, thank you for the question. I think there's lots of interest in this operating area, but our discussions over the last 2 days have not been contained to just the Baltic. There's an ambition within the JEF to look at where different nations from within the JEF might want to serve farther afield as well. So to define the JEF simply by the coincidence of geography that brought us all together in the first place would be to misunderstand the full scale of the JEF's ambition. We're a group of like-minded nations with an ambition to work together against any threat, anywhere, anytime. And that doesn't mean, therefore, it's just a thing for the Baltic. There might be opportunities for us to do things elsewhere in the world where our shared interest leads us to want to act together for our shared advantage.
I could just mention here the forthcoming exercise, the Joint Protector 21 exercise. Finland is also participating, and Finnish Defence Forces are responsible for its communications, and you can get further information about our participation from them if you are interested. And also different expert working groups continue their cooperation, and the cooperation aims to develop each country's military capabilities and expertise. So this is something concrete which is coming in the work of JEF in the near future.
Thank you, ministers. Any more questions From the journalist side? Do I see? Okay, it seems that no questions are coming. Well, just wait if someone's formulating. Okay, yeah, there is one. Essi Lehto from Reuters. Just a moment. I'll give you a... Please, Essi.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the below the threshold threats. Could you describe those a little bit more, what kind of threats they are?
Well, I think we've seen in recent weeks all sorts of below the threshold events. Anything that seeks to undermine the rules-based international system is clearly a sub-threshold activity, whether that be forcing a Ryanair flight to land, or whether that be challenging the use of international shipping lanes. That's sub-threshold activity. Likewise, we see cyber attacks, we see disinformation being sowed within our democracies. We see all sorts of things that are designed to break down the cohesion of friendships and partnerships like the one that the UK enjoys bilaterally and that we share within the JEF. And that's the sort of thing that we have to be prepared to stand up to. Now, that's not limited, as I said in response to a previous answer, to this specific geography. There are interests that we share around the world, and actually we should stand up to these sorts of sub-threshold threats wherever we find them and from whoever they come from, in order to assert that the world should be a place that respects international law, respects freedom, respects democracy, and that we articulate our values with confidence without being unnecessarily confrontational.
Thank you for the question. And is there any more questions? The ministers? Okay. Oh, it's continuation from Ms. Lehto, please.
Yes, maybe just a follow-up question. You said we're facing aggressive nations, so could you identify which nations you're talking about?
Sorry, could you repeat the first part of your question?
You said we're facing aggressive nations, and you talked about the threats, the recent below threshold threats. Could you identify which nations you're talking about?
Well, I think that we've seen this sort of behavior from the Iranians, from the Chinese, from the Belarusians, from the Russians. There are all sorts of countries that seek to operate below the threshold to challenge the cohesion of the international community and to challenge the rules-based international system. I think it's wrong to fixate on any one adversary. That would be to misunderstand and limit the ambition of the Joint Expeditionary Force. We're a group of like-minded Northern European nations who believe in the rules-based international system, who believe in freedom and democracy, and we're ready to stand up for those values wherever in the world they're challenged.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the journalist side? Silence. Then I'll just ask the ministers, do you have, if there's going to be no more questions, is there something you still want to state as this is for the public or for the journalists, something you didn't say yet?
Well, I stated already in my opening speech the main points here, but I'm happy for the good atmosphere we had during these 2 days, and of course we can have these meetings by video, and we certainly have had those, but it's always different thing to meet people in person. And also it is a fact that there are some things when we are talking about defense policy that isn't possible to do the safe way by video connections. So I think it was very good to finally meet colleagues and have very good discussion in a good spirit. And I was only a technical host here, and he did the biggest job here. Thank you, James.
Well, Antti, that's kind, but really I think the hospitality is all yours. Helsinki is a wonderful place to visit. We've all been really well looked after, and 9 defence ministers return home, having been wonderfully hosted by our Finnish counterpart, and we're all very grateful.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And one more check. And I see no questions there. So we'll end this brief press info. Thank you, ministers, and good day to you all.
Okay, thank you.